Well, happy Monday from Derek here at the Fantasy Flyer. I am back with your Week 11 takeaways. Just a few notes to keep an eye on as we go into the week coming ahead. Won't hold you up. We're going to make this video short and sweet, so let's jump into the 5 takeaways that I have from Week 11. Number 1, and I think it's most important after last night's game, the Broncos are back. That was a very crucial game. Broncos did everything that the Vikings had not seen in the past 3 weeks. Denver is getting turnovers. They are having more time with the football. The defensive improvements are starting to turn this into offensive improvements, and it's just starting to help this Broncos team. Wilson looks much more confident. Javonte Williams is getting back to his usual self despite not being used in a huge capacity and not taking advantage of the opportunities that he had. I would have expected a little bit more out of Javonte Williams, but it's important to note Courtland Sutton is a fantasy value. 8 out of 10 games this year, he has a touchdown. Denver has the longest active winning streak in the NFL as of right now. Keep an eye on the Broncos, and if you are still eligible to pick up a Courtland Sutton, I would attempt to if your league has not passed the trade deadline. Number 2, what is happening with these Los Angeles Chargers? It seems Brandon Staley is sick of being the scapegoat for the Chargers' struggles, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's the problem. I saw this coming as a Cowboys fan with Kellen Moore, and Kellen Moore in the offense, they can get stagnant at times. But the Chargers are 0-5 in one-score games. It's bad. Keenan Allen had 3 drops yesterday, which is a career high in a single game. Quentin Johnson dropped a crucial pass on a comeback drive. Austin Eckler wasn't used in the most spectacular fashion. In my opinion, the Green Bay Packers were 68 for 83 on allowing completions to running backs in the pass game where Austin Eckler thrives. It did not seem like an extremely strong game plan from my point of view. The defense is allowing 300-plus yards regularly. And Brandon Staley essentially said in his interview that he's sick and tired of it, but he's going to continue to call the plays, and that's the way it's going to be. I am kind of erring on the side of caution when it comes to this entire coaching staff. They are not looking good for their record right now. It's hard to see this thing turning around without some changes coming soon. The Chargers realistically should be a playoff team, and they are floundering. The fantasy effect for me in this is basically you have to keep an eye on everybody but Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is going to see targets, but even Austin Eckler now is hitting the danger point. He is in a contract year. He's 27, will be 28 not long after the season ends, and there's a lot of decisions to be made. I don't think if he gets injured, he plays a lot. I don't know if this team continues to have the same coaching staff if they do not start winning some games, and I mean short term, they have to win some games. Number 3, a team that is starting to look a little better. I mean, at least based off one fact, one game, it's the Bills offense. They have returned to form. Josh Allen throws for 3 touchdowns. The Bills slaughtered the Jets 32-6. Little help from Zach Wilson because that's how the Jets work. But the change of the offensive coordinator has brought a needed change to the team that was 500. They revived their chance to get back in the playoffs. Huge game. In terms of fantasy, Stephon Diggs had back-to-back games that have underwhelmed now. Gabe Davis had a dud yesterday. Dalton Kincaid has been solid, but Dawson Knox is supposed to return from IR, which may murky the waters a little bit. Keep an eye on the usage of James Cook, and more interestingly, especially for the waiver wires, Ty Johnson, who saw immediate usage once there was the change at the helm. He had 3 catches for 47 and a touchdown yesterday. Number 4 is the injuries. Lots of injuries. We can talk about this. It's fantasy hospice at this point. Mark Andrews with an ankle in the Thursday night game. He's gone for the rest of the season. Joe Burrow, elbow, gone for the rest of the season. Kenneth Walker has an oblique strain. Could be anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks. Depends on what information they find out today or tomorrow. Aaron Jones left with what may be a sprained MCL. Devin Achane, might have messed it up. Either way, point is, Devin Achane, he left the game with a knee injury. Talanoa Hufanga with an ACL, a huge defensive hit for the San Francisco 49ers, and Cooper Kupp left with an ankle injury. He's listed as day-to-day, according to Sean McVay. Fantasy effects here are pretty straightforward. With Week 13 right around the corner, this is going to be a busy waiver wire. You need to get ahead of that Week 13. You need to make sure you're out there looking for plays now. Some names that I have as far as going into the next week or two: Zach Charbonnet, 85% snaps yesterday after Kenneth Walker left the game. It was a loss, but this is good exposure for the rookie. Jalen Hyatt saw a snap bump after Darius Slayton left in the Giants game. That's not the best offense, but at 53%, it's pretty solid. And if you can continue to get a whole game there, he may actually see 70 or 80%. And what breeds fantasy production is opportunity. Isaiah Likely is also a great tight end spot. 74% snaps in Thursday Night Football after Mark Andrews left. He will be the main replacement. And the fifth and final note and takeaway from week 11, it is the surprise records. Loads of teams just haven't played to their record, both up and down. The Steelers, the Browns, the Jaguars, the Seahawks, the Vikings, the Buccaneers, just a list of some teams that really have played better or worse than their record indicates. The Browns and the Steelers are both above 500. Neither of those offenses look competent at all. It's all about takeaways. It's all about defense, which is a good way to win football games. But then you look at the Buccaneers and the Vikings, which even with the offense the way the Vikings is, they're 6-5, which is amazing. The Buccaneers have been passing it to Rashad White. They've been running it with Rashad White. Mike Evans is on pace for a 1,400-yard season or something like that, and they are 4-6. They have been playing way better offensively than their record shows. It all comes down to the defensive side of the ball where they may be missing. I'm keeping an eye on some of those teams just going into the playoffs. That has no fantasy aspect. That's just an interesting thought. And I just don't see how there's a lot of these teams. I mean, the Seahawks are 6-4. They might make the playoffs. It's down between them and the Vikings for the seventh seed, essentially. It's just very interesting to see some of these teams and how their records are panning out. Some of these surprise games. And as an added note to this, shout out to the Lions who are 8-2 for the first time since the 1960s. Those are my takeaways for Week 11. We will see you later in the week with another show and another start and sit. My name is Derek from the Fantasy Flyer. Take care, guys.